Hello everybody, it's Kara from Wild Book Garden, and today I am here with the first day of my BookTube birthday week. That is because the day that this video is going up is my official BookTube anniversary. It is the anniversary of the day that I started my channel and posted my first video. I decided that I wanted to celebrate by doing an entire week of content. I've never done Vlogmas or anything like that, or BookTube Veda or anything. That is a little too much for me, but a week of videos I think I can handle. And I just thought it'd be a fun way to do some content that is like, especially content that is like extra relevant to my like reading taste, my channel. So you have some, I think, exciting things coming this week. I hope you stick around and watch them. Maybe if this is like the first videos that you're finding from me, I hope it gives you an idea of like the kind of thing I do on my channel, some of my other interests, or if you've been here a while, then I hope that you enjoy these as well. It also worked out perfectly on the calendar year. Like, I've been thinking about doing something like this for a while, but it just so happened that my BookTube anniversary this year fell on a Sunday, and I was like, this is perfect. So that's what we're doing. And I thought, what better way to start than with the BookTube anniversary tag? I saw this / was tagged by Becca over at the Book Sanctum. I will link her video down below because she recently had her BookTube anniversary. And as best I can tell, the original tag is by Average Joe Reads, but there is like a version that added more questions that I'm also going to be doing those questions, and I'll try to find who added those as well. Number one is, how many years on BookTube are you celebrating? 5. I can't believe it. The last couple of years especially feel like they really flew by. But yeah, this is my 5th year, or like I've now been on BookTube for 5 years, so I guess I'll be starting my 6th year. Number 2 is, how have you changed from your first video to now? I mean, everybody says this, but I'm definitely more confident. I feel like I definitely feel more like myself, like the way I talk and everything. I think you can tell that I'm more comfortable doing this and that I'm more just comfortable in myself and in the things that I talk about. I just realized that I got the name wrong. I think this is actually the BookTube birthday tag, so apologies if I said that wrong. But yeah, as I was saying, I think you can just tell that I feel like more of my personality comes through in my videos too. I mean, definitely some more than others. I think that confidence has like gone to other parts of my life as well, which I love. Number 3, what are 3 of your favorite videos you've made in the past year and why? What video are you most proud of and why? So 3 within the last year. I really liked my Jane Eyre retelling reading vlog. I'm like still figuring out how to do vlogs, but I feel like that one came out pretty well and I like the concept. I did also a discussion on fictional crushes that I'm proud of because that was something I just had really strong feelings about, and I really wanted to like do some kind of discussion about it, but I was worried about how it would be received. But the feedback has been great. Thank you guys so much for your kind words about that. I also thought my famously bad adaptations that I love, I really enjoyed that. That was like in December, but technically it's within the last year from now. But I thought that one was a fun one, and that was one that, like, I know it's kind of a silly concept, but like I was actually a little nervous about it just because, again, these are adaptations that are famous for people hating them. So I was a little nervous about it, but that went well. And then as for the video that I'm most proud of, I would probably say one of my middle grade discussion videos, I think, because that's something like just not just for middle grade, but just the importance of adults reading books intended for younger readers, whether that is picture books or middle grade books or young adult books. That is something that I think is really, really important, not just because it's an important part of like reading widely, but I think for what it does about your perspective on the world as well. And so that's something I feel very strongly about, and I'm proud that I bring that up in my videos. Number 4, what's your most popular video? That is my review for A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabot, translated by Hildegard Searle. When I checked, that had like 5.8 thousand views, which I know for a lot of people would not sound like a lot, but for me that's huge. My videos very rarely get like in the 1,000 range at all, but this is like consistently my most popular video, which I think just shows that like reviews are content that don't do well right away, but they can really stack up views as time goes on. And I think also I just happened to post that one, like I got an ARC of that book, like I requested one and I got a review copy, and it happened to be like before I think other people were really like reading it or posting about it. So I think that's a reason why people ended up watching it, is because if you wanted to know about the book, that was one of the only videos about it. And also it ended up being a like relatively well-known series. Like I feel like bigger booktubers are like starting that series now, so maybe I think all of those factors kind of contributed. Number 5, what have you struggled with on BookTube in the past year, and how did you overcome that struggle? / what's the hardest thing about creating videos for YouTube? Definitely the hardest thing for me, just like across my career, I guess, but especially the last couple of years, has just been like falling behind, especially with like time sensitive videos like wrap-ups. I keep forgetting that falling even a little bit behind makes it very, very, very hard to catch up, which is not great for mental health or for taking care of yourself. And yeah, I think that's been the hardest thing, is because like I don't mind watching other people's content late, or like, you know, somebody does a wrap up from like 4 months ago or whatever, but I know other people don't like that. And even though like I do this for me and for the community and for getting to talk about books, but it is disheartening, and I think we all can acknowledge this, it is disheartening to put a lot of effort into something and it doesn't do well, and that can happen a lot with videos that are a little later. And then I think like an ongoing difficulty, like the hardest thing is balancing, and this is another thing that I know a lot of people talk about, but like balancing things like reading time, video watching time, video filming and editing time, you know, like also captioning those, other aspects of life like work, personal life, all of that. It's hard to find. It feels like no matter what you're doing, you feel like you should be doing something else, and that is really hard. Number 6, have you had to deal with negative feedback or comments? How did you handle it? Yes, I think pretty much most people have, and I know mine has not been as bad as some other people's has been, but of course all of it is unacceptable. But I have been harassed in comments, like sexual harassment, that happened pretty early on in my channel, and I actually remember thinking, which just shows how baked into our culture this is, but like I just remember thinking like already, because I was such a small channel, you know, not that I never expected it to happen, but I thought I'd have some time before it happened. And I just, you know, block the person. Thankfully I haven't had to deal with too much of that. One of the things that I do get is like periodically on certain review videos, I will get like essay length comments like explaining to me why I'm just not smart enough to understand the book, and that's why I didn't like it. So those are really, really irritating. There's one video that it's like, I'll just get comments that it's like, well, I guess that you just don't like reading books where bad things happen. And it's like, have you seen any of my content? Because if so, you would know that's not true. So yeah, just the like explaining why like I'm just not getting the book, I'm just not smart enough to understand how good the book is, that tends to be more of the like negative feedback I get. And even that thankfully is pretty infrequent, but it does still happen. And the way I usually respond to it is like I will just respond very briefly. I know some people say don't respond at all, and I totally respect that. But usually what I end up doing is I will just respond very briefly with like a very, very short version of why I don't think that's like the truth. I was like, I actually really like books that can deal with hard material. I just don't think this one did a good job because of blah, blah, blah. I'm glad you enjoyed the book though. And I feel like just the, like, I'm glad you enjoyed the book can sometimes take like the wind out of their sails a little bit, because they want to like fight about it. And if you just say like, I'm so glad it worked for you, it's like a little harder to argue with that. Other than that, thankfully, I don't have to deal with that too much. One of the benefits of being a small channel. Number 7 is to shout out a huge supporter of your channel. And I specifically wanted to use this slot to talk about somebody who, like, I feel like you're probably supposed to pick people who also have channels, but I wanted to pick somebody who doesn't. And I wanted to mention Allison Rose. I've talked about her before, but she does a lot of great reviews on Goodreads. So she is a book reviewer. I will link her below. Please follow her. She is so smart and funny, and I love her. And she always leaves like really great comments, like very thoughtful, but also very entertaining, which I feel like is kind of her review style in general. So thank you so much for the ongoing support, Allison. I always love your comments. Number 8 is, what's the best book you've read in this past year? We know I don't like questions like this because I always have so many favorites, but I'm just gonna mention, I'll mention like a nonfiction and a fiction that I really, really loved, even though I have many favorites from this year, but one of them has to be Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Bully. This was incredible. Like, this is a contemporary mystery thriller that deals a lot with Ojibwe culture, and it's just so good. Like, I had heard nothing but glowing reviews from people, and somehow this book still exceeded my expectations. Like, I knew it was going to be amazing, and yet it was even more amazing than I thought. The characterization is fantastic. The plot is gripping. I love the way the Angeline Bully works with the themes and the ideas. Just absolutely a beautiful story. I loved it so much. I'm so excited for her book coming out next year. And then a nonfiction pick. I'm actually going to mention one that I just read recently, and it's kind of a weird book to talk about, I guess, but Awakened by Death by Christiana N. Peterson. I just really got a lot out of this book, and it really resonated a lot with me. It's basically a look at death, and at the way that Western culture especially is really not equipped to acknowledge or talk about death. Like specifically in the US, she talks about, and she looks at it through the lens of Christian mysticism. So do know that that is like a focus of the book, but I thought it was really well written. I love the way that she connected these very common human fears to other issues. Like, she talks about, like, there's a whole chapter where she talks about, like, not that we shouldn't worry or it's unreasonable to be afraid, but by fixating so much on what could happen to us, it can sometimes lead us to not pay attention to what already is happening to others in our community. So I really loved this. If you're at all interested in the topic, like I mentioned in my wrap up, if the particular like fears she talks about resonate with you, I think this is a really informative, thoughtful, comforting book in the way that it's like, it's okay to be scared. Like, I just really love this one. Would highly recommend it. Number 9, where do you see your channel in a year's time, and what do you hope to have achieved? I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna probably be doing much the same, but I mean that in the best way. I do hope that I get better about doing my more creative ideas earlier rather than waiting until I like catch up, you know, with other stuff. So I hope that I do more like creative or interesting videos frequently. Not that I like want to hate on like the staple content of BookTube. I love tags and wrap-ups and all of that, so no worries about that. But I do think that sometimes I don't do things when I'm really excited about them because I feel guilty. I feel like I should be doing the stuff I need to catch up on first. So I hope I do my a little more off the beaten path ideas more frequently going forward. And other than that, I don't know. I have some exciting projects coming up. I just announced my Not a Genre book club, which I'm really excited about. I will link that announcement. But speaking of the importance of adults reading books for younger readers, that is like something I'm really excited about finally starting. I've had this kind of idea for a while and I can't wait. Obviously still going to be doing like some of the other things that are happening, like Past It Classics. I hope we're going to keep going with that. I think we all plan to keep going with that. So yeah, just very excited for what the future holds. Number 10, what was an unexpected surprise of being on YouTube? I think for me, it's the amount of pride and satisfaction I have in myself that I'm still doing this, that I feel like I'm getting better at this, and just like recognizing that it's nice to have a hobby where it's like, yeah, I do good work, you know, like there's always things that I feel like I can improve on, and I don't think I'm a BookTube expert by any means, but it's helped me get more comfortable at recognizing my own strengths. Like the comments in the community and all those interactions have been wonderful to help me get a little better about seeing when I'm good at things. And that has really meant a lot. Like I think that this is really kind of like I was talking about earlier in the tag. I think that confidence and that like self-worth, that sense of self-worth and like of satisfaction of doing good work and being proud of my work and myself, I think that has really filtered into like a lot of other aspects of my life, and I think that surprised me with how effective that was, but I'm really glad, obviously. Number 11 is thoughts on equipment. What has been the most useful piece of equipment you've bought? So I actually have been very lucky because the two big things were actually gifted to me. Like I was using a pretty old camera, and I don't even remember what editing program. I think it was Windows Media Player or Media Editor, whatever that is, for a while. And then one year for Christmas, my dad actually surprised me with a fancier editing program. I still use it. It's PowerDirector 16. I'm really happy with it. They keep telling me I need to upgrade it, but so far I'm really happy with it. And so I was really grateful for that, and that was huge. Just feeling like you can, even like just adding book covers in made a huge difference. And then also the other thing is my camera that I really love, and specifically having a camera that you can attach an outside microphone to, because the sound of videos I think is like a big factor in how professional they feel or in how much people enjoy like the experience of watching your videos, like more even than like the video quality itself. I think that the sound can be a big thing, and I was reluctant to admit that, and so I was very lucky when one year for my birthday, my dad once again surprised me with a nice camera and mic that was picked out. So I'll try to link the one that I have down below if you're interested, but you don't have to do like really fancy stuff. Honestly, I think the most important thing is having a camera with an outside microphone where you can't hear that weird buzzing or any background noise really. I think that's the most important thing. The editing software is nice, but I think that's, if you could only pick one, I would say like the microphone is more important, but also I know a lot of people who do great content that they film on their iPhones. So really, like if you want to spend money on this, if you're able to, you absolutely can. And that is definitely a very real barrier to entry for a lot of people, but you shouldn't feel like you have to spend on these kinds of equipment. Number 12 is, what advice would you give to someone thinking of starting YouTube? Biggest thing is just start. Probably all of these are going to be like very obvious, but I'm thinking about this a lot because my friend Margaret from The Word Nerd, she just did, actually her anniversary was recently, and she just did like a video and like a live show that I was on with some other people about like what we've learned being on BookTube. So I've been thinking about this a lot. So prepare for a lot of answers, but one important one is like just start, just do the first video, accept that you're gonna think it's not great and you're just gonna do it anyway. Because that's what I did. Like I remember when I did this review, my review that was the first video I did, I even recognized at the time, I'm like, this is terrible lighting and I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm really excited about this book. And if I don't do this now, like if I like wait for better lighting or I wait to feel more comfortable, I felt like I was never gonna do it. So I just did it anyway, and obviously I've enjoyed that. I also think adding captions is incredibly important. Just build that into the time that that you think of as like your editing time, because like especially once you've done it a little bit, it becomes like such an automatic part of the process, like of planning, you know, and it's so important in terms of accessibility. Like it really makes a difference. I've also heard that it can help your videos be recommended more often. I don't know if that's true. I didn't know about that when I started it or anything. And like I just think it's really important. I think that's one of the most important things you can do with your content, is just consider things like accessibility, and captions is one of the easiest ways, like the simplest ways that you can really affect that. And also I would do them even if my analytics showed that nobody used them, because again, I just think that's important. But I think it's also interesting that when I do look at my analytics, 25% of my viewers use my captions. So they're important and they're needed, you know, it's not just something that you do thinking someday in the future they might come in handy. Like they really are important. This is another one Margaret talked about, but do this for you. If you want to, like, of course we all like have ideas about wanting to grow our channel and, you know, maybe getting monetized and stuff like that. And that's great. And that is not a bad thing. You know, I think sometimes there's like this feeling that you shouldn't admit that you want to like do that on BookTube, but don't go into it assuming that you're going to be able to make this your job, or assuming that you're going to be able to achieve a certain level of like success or fame from it, because I think you're going to get burnt out really quick and it's just really not fun. Like if you base your feeling of success or worth on this channel, on like whatever channel you're starting, if you base that off of outside factors that like you really can't control, you're just going to be really upset and frustrated. And of course we all go through phases where we're down because of our number of subscribers, or like the analytics aren't showing us very good things. I don't look at analytics super often. I wouldn't recommend being too fixated on those, but like we all go through periods where that's, I think, harder to deal with. So don't feel bad if you are going through one of those things, but at the end of the day, you should feel like you're making the content that you want to and that you're excited about it. You should be able to, like, your primary goal for doing this should not be getting a certain amount of money from it, getting a certain amount of like outside validation from it, because it's just hard to plan for that, you know? I also want to mention that don't feel like you have to read, like that you have to have an opinion on the most popular books. Like I think it's fine if you, like we all I think sometimes consider like popularity or things like that for certain kinds of content, you know, like if you're planning to do a reading vlog and you can't decide between two books, you might pick the one that more people are talking about because you want more views, which is fine. That is also not a bad thing or something to be ashamed of. But don't feel like you have to force yourself to read something you're not into just because that's what people seem to be reading. One of the most frustrating things I feel like about being on the bookish internet is the nobody is reading blank or nobody is talking about blank, because that is basically never true. I can pretty much guarantee that there are lots of creators, especially marginalized creators and or smaller creators, who are doing that content. You know, like we hear people say there's no creative ideas on BookTube, and that's not true. Or people say nobody reads adult fantasy, which is ridiculous to me. That is not true. Like you will find your niche, whatever that is, and you should embrace that. And that kind of goes with another piece of advice, which is you don't have to do something the same way that everyone does. Like basically there are people out there looking for your exact style or your exact contribution. Like we were talking about this during the live show too, is like wrap-ups. You know, there are people who do them in a very specific way, or there are people who like make them a lot more casual. Like when I subscribe to people, I don't do it because they do their content in a certain way. Like I have a huge variety of people I follow and they all kind of give me different things. And I think that's one of the amazing things about BookTube. And so I think that's an important thing to embrace with your own content as well. And finally, the last piece of advice, I know this has gone on very long, but don't stress about making friends quickly enough. Like the community is a hugely important aspect of this. I think we all, like whenever you ask anybody what their favorite thing about being on BookTube is, it's pretty much always the community. And I think that's true. Like it really is special to make friends through books and to have friends from all over the world. And I think that is so special and so important. And I just want you to remember, if you're starting a channel, try not to worry about not finding your group of friends quickly enough, because it just kind of happens gradually, or it can happen when you're not even noticing, or it can happen like unexpectedly. Like maybe you do a collab with somebody, or maybe you interact with them in a certain way and then you end up becoming friends. Like I know that it can feel like everybody else on BookTube like has kind of their group of friends, and that can feel kind of isolating if you don't feel like you have that, but like you really will find that. And everybody just has a different timeline for that. Like you never know how things are going to work out with that. And definitely don't be afraid to like comment on people's videos and like respond to something they talk about, you know, start a conversation about really enjoying the same books or whatever. Like don't just do like the subscribe and I'll subscribe to you or anything like that. But like don't be afraid to reach out and interact with people and to kind of see where that goes. But the main point I wanted to make is like, don't feel like you have to make a certain number of friends or you have to be visibly making friends in the same way that everyone else is. And finally, number 13 is to tag someone whose anniversary is coming up. And I'm pretty sure that my friend Huck from Badger Reads, that her anniversary on BookTube is coming up, because we were just talking about this. So Huck, if you would like to do this tag, I tag you, or otherwise anybody who would like to do this, who has an anniversary coming up. So this was the first in my week of content. I will start a playlist for all of this, and yeah, just wanted to say like, thank you guys so much. I can't believe I've been here for 5 years. This has been one of the best decisions I ever made. And thank you for helping to make that true. Like, I know I said this already, but like everybody says the community is like the best part, and like it truly is. Like I just can't get over the fact that I get to talk about books like basically whenever I want. Like it's amazing. And like the friends that I've made through this platform, the interactions we have in comments, like it just all means so much to me, and I wanted to say thank you. So I will see you guys soon in another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!